Gracie Jiu-Jitsu rocks. Welcome to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast, a podcast dedicated to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and all things Gracie, including self-defense, competition, anti-bullying, women's self-defense and empowerment, nutrition, and most especially, the people involved in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. This podcast is for the average Joe. It's for anyone who practices, trains, teaches, or just loves to talk about or hear about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. We'll explore the lives of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, how they got involved in the art, and what effect it's had on their lives. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome to episode 15 of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast. I'm your host, Marty Josie, and thanks for listening. Today we'll be speaking with a very special guest, Rener Gracie, and that'll happen in just a moment. But before we get to that, let's start with our jiu-jitsu quote, and that is, please keep in mind that no matter how strong, fast, or coordinated you are, there's always someone stronger, faster, and more coordinated. And that comes from Grandmaster Rener Gracie, and that's from the Master Text. Okay, what I'd like to do now is play a short video. It's from Roots of the Fight, and it just talks about the impact that the Gracie family has had on MMA.
The Gracie family took it to a whole new level. They wanted to prove to the world that their discipline was the baddest form of martial arts on the planet.
Horian created the UFC to prove that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was the most efficient martial art in the world, and that point was proven. Everybody who fights mixed martial arts right now trains Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
The Gracies were all about mastering groundwork. That's where it really all started from.
The Gracies are not as big as they should be. They had an art that was so outrageous, and it shows the size didn't matter. The fighting world has the utmost respect for the Gracie clan. There's no doubt about that.
I started off watching the Gracies before UFC even began, because I love that kind of extreme fighting. Ain't no running and hiding, let's get it on.
Okay, great little video there paying tribute to the Gracie family, and that featured Uriah Faber, Eddie Bravo, Mike Tyson, Snoop Dogg, among others. Okay, my guest today is Rener Gracie. I'm sure everybody listening to this show knows who Rener is, but in case there's one person out there somewhere who somehow doesn't know, Rener is the son of Grandmaster Rener Gracie and the grandson of Grandmaster Rener Gracie. He and his brother Hiron are the head instructors at the Gracie Academy in Torrance, California, and they run the academy under the direction of their father, Rener. Rener's been very instrumental in spreading the word of Jiu-Jitsu throughout the world. It's been his mission for some time now. So without further ado, let's talk to Rener. Okay, my guest today is the legendary Rener Gracie. So welcome, Rener, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, man. I'm sorry it took me so long to get with the podcast. I've been listening to all the episodes. I love them. I think it's great that you're doing this. And, yeah, man, just let's keep it moving.
Yeah, well, I appreciate those thoughts. And I know you've been busy. You've been teaching all over the world. So I'm just really glad that you had a minute today. So I appreciate it. I was fortunate to be at one of your seminars a couple of nights ago at Norfolk, Virginia. And I've been to a lot of your seminars. And as always, there's awesome instruction. I always get a lot out of it. Tons of great details that I can put into practice right away. So if anybody's listening and never had that opportunity to train with Rener or attend one of his seminars, I urge you to do so. Seek it out, make it happen. You can't go wrong, and you'll absolutely love the experience. So I wanted to formally congratulate you and Eve on recently getting married, I guess 3 or 4 months ago.
Yes.
And in your short time as a married man, Rener, has there been anything surprising or different about being married than you thought it'd be?
Man, thanks for the congratulations. All in all, the biggest surprise for me has been how wonderful marriage actually is. All you hear about is all the jokes and all the negativity, and once you're married, your life is over, and all the comedians shooting it down. But I couldn't ask for anything more. Being married is amazing. I'm sure, the other half of the partner is the determining factor of how amazing a marriage can be. And I couldn't have found a better partner or wife than Eve. And yeah, man, it's been nothing but good things. And hopefully we'll just keep it going forward and keep it playful all the way to the end.
Well, you sure seem to have picked an absolute great partner for sure on so many levels. And you also have a cute little new puppy, Choki.
Yeah, Choki the dog, man. That kid is legendary, man. I think, if I were reincarnated as a dog, I would be Choki. Like, his attitude, his playfulness, his little sneakiness. The guy gets whatever he wants, super, manipulative, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't want to go to bed, so he'll, go hide behind the couch. It's funny, man. The guy's really character, but we love having him, and it's a good little precursor, you know what I'm saying, for some little baby Gracies. Hopefully, you just got to get Eve used to just, cleaning up after Choki, and it's all been good.
That's what I was actually going to ask you that. Has there been anything about having Choki that you feel like will help you when you guys do have
kids?
Kids?
Having a puppy, we had him since he was 8 weeks old, right? So he was just a little freaking muffin. And having Choki since he was a little furball was interesting because you got to, watch out. You have to take this guy out to go pee and poo, in the middle of the night. So literally, middle of the night, we're going outside, to this guy go pee. And I didn't know that wasn't in the application. I had no idea. So no one told me that. So literally, I was like, man, this is ridiculous. How long do we have to do this for? And it was a good, I would say, probably 4 to 8 weeks that we had to actually do that. And, that sucks. But other than that, it was all good. But from what I found out from Hito, he was like, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, forget about it, bro. Get ready for 8 months when you have a baby.
Yeah. Yeah, and sleep deprivation and all kinds of stuff.
Sleep deprivation for 8 months. And after 2 months of Choki, he was in his crate, and he sleeps all night, and we wake up and let him out, so it's no problem.
Nice. So it sounds like some great experience on that journey.
Yeah, very fun.
So you were fortunate to grow up as part of the first family of Jiu-Jitsu. So what was it like for you growing up with Grandmaster Horion as your father and Grandmaster Elio as your grandfather? And besides Jiu-Jitsu and the Gracie diet, what's the most important thing either one of them taught you?
Oh, you're so funny how you take out the two automatic answers out of the equation. Jiu-Jitsu and the diet are out.
So make it a little difficult for you.
To answer the first part of the question, man, growing up in this family of legends has been so interesting because, man, I didn't really have superheroes, like Superman, Spider-Man, Batman. That didn't exist, when I was growing up. It was just Andy, Horion, Hoyt, Six. All my superheroes were in my family. And that was a very fortunate situation for any young man to grow up and have his role models be right there living with him. So, man, I think that above everything else, in terms of lessons that I got from them was willpower and discipline. My grandfather was my father as well, very much on healthy living, no alcohol, no smoking. And growing up with peer pressure here in America and all these kids and, a lot of my friends choosing the wrong path. Having that discipline and that willpower to make the right choices and stick to them and hold my ground and do the right thing growing up for my health and for my, my mental, physical health was a huge benefit. And I don't think I would have had the strength to be as disciplined and as focused as I was growing up had I not had their influence and more importantly, their example to go by. So they just did everything leading by example. And ultimately, that gave me the strength to do the same for myself. And with my grandfather, the other huge aspect was knowing how bad he was as a fighter and as a martial artist, but to see how much effort he put into building the confidence of the students around him to the point where he would bring himself down to make someone else feel stronger. Hey, champ, don't choke me out. Like, very much humble and the highest level of respect for anyone. Even the brand new white belt walking in the building, he would treat them like this person was, the king of some foreign, some random country, and like just had the highest level of humility and respect for everybody. And I think that the reason he did that was because he knew what he was capable of. He didn't need to prove it to anyone. He didn't need to boast about it to anyone. And since he knew what others perceived him as, right, which is this, lethal weapon of a person, since he knew that others perceived him as someone so deadly and dangerous, all his effort was dedicated to essentially undoing or neutralizing their fear of him, their concerns in being around him, their intimidation or anxiety they might have been experiencing. So that was really unique to know that he could choke anybody out, in 30 seconds, but yet he didn't even need to do that because, he knew he had the strength, and ultimately he used his power to empower others. And that's the highest level of power, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Incredible. You certainly couldn't ask for any more or any better role models than both of those examples, for sure. Now, with your grandfather, while you were growing up, was he living mainly in in California, or was he in Brazil, or back and forth?
Yeah, my grandfather essentially lived in Brazil his whole life. As we kind of matured and I have footage of myself training with my grandfather in the Gracie garage in Southern California, Hermosa Beach, when I was 5 years old. So he would come here periodically, spend 6 months, a couple months living in California, training with us, watching us, overseeing everything. And that happened until he was about 90 years old, about give or take a few. So once after 90, he just stopped wanting to travel. He didn't really like the food on the plane, the awkwardness, the crammed space. It just wasn't a convenience or a comfort for him. It isn't for anybody, but for him especially, it's just something that we didn't really put him through anymore. So he pretty much stayed home unless there was a major situation. But before that, he was down to travel anytime to get out of here because, his sons were here, we were here, the academy was here, and he really just wanted to be around it. It was so interesting how, jiu-jitsu kept him young, and being around jiu-jitsu, even if he wasn't the one doing it, kept his mind sharp and kept him eager to keep it moving,
Absolutely. I think it's incredible seeing that footage of him, well into, I guess, his 90s and still being on the mat. Man, it was just inspirational. Now, were you able to go down to Brazil and visit him there or spend much time there?
Yeah, I did, several trips to Brazil when I was younger, teenager, young adult, to train with him personally on his ranch out there. He was the lucky one. He graduated high school, and then he told his dad, he told our dad, he said, Dad, I don't want to go to college because I want to go spend time with my grandfather on the farm several months and just go stay with him out there and just do college with my grandfather, which is basically the sneaky way out of getting out of college. My dad fell for it like a sucker. And, he's down in freaking Brazil, eating acai, drinking smoothies, and just literally gaining weight and just training every day with my grandfather, going to all the academies and doing all that. So I would go down while he was there to go spend time with them during that phase and prior to that many times. But it was always amazing just to be around him. And the jiu-jitsu was the least of it. When you're around my grandfather, the amount of unique conversations about everything, about everyone and everything. He has an opinion. He has a philosophy. And you're just there trying to absorb everything you can.
Wow. Incredible. What an incredible man and an incredible influence. He certainly left his mark on so many people. So what was it like for you, Rener, growing up in the heyday of the UFC when, let's see, what were you, about 10 when the first one happened?
Yeah. November 12th, 1993. I was 10 years old. I was 2 days after my 10th birthday.
And you didn't get to go to the first one, right?
Yeah, I didn't get to go to the first one, just being 10 years old, little rascal. He don't got to go. He was 12. Him and Hobson went. And I just had to sit at home and watch it on TV, and man, that sucked. But, it was, it's life, as Hito's little brother.
Right. So growing up in your school years, I guess by the time you were in middle school and even high school, the UFC was just exploding. And what was it like for you during those years when Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, the notoriety of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was just exploding? Was it like when you were at school were people, hey, I want to hang out with him, or did some people want to challenge
it was
you?
really interesting. Growing up and being 10 years old in the UFC, kind of blowing up like it did, it didn't blow up like it did today, obviously. It wasn't like a household name. It was very much still a niche, like martial artists or friends, or my uncle has watched it, and kind of underground thing still. So growing up, with that, popularity, underground popularity of the UFC was interesting. Of course, teachers, like my school teachers were like, oh my gosh, Gracie, like you guys part of the family, and I've seen the UFC, and so they always kind of had that level of respect. I never really took much advantage of it. I got straight A's regardless, and just kind of did my thing. And some other kids kind of knew my family did jiu-jitsu, so they kind of always had respect, and it was, pretty normal upbringing, and just, they knew it, Gracie brothers. And I was very fortunate because Hidon came through and was, older than me. So 2 years before I got to school, Hidon had already kind of paved the way, so people already knew who he was, and that was pretty much made life easier for me. But, nothing major, man. There were a couple of little challenges here and there. Like one day the volleyball team challenged me, so I just choked out like probably 13, 14 guys back to back, before the volleyball coach showed up, just because I was feeling like I wanted to roll. And this is high school, like maybe 15 years old. That was pretty fun, and just little different things like that. But nobody challenged. They didn't challenge us partially because they knew we were Gracies, other partially because we were like 6'2" in high school, 190 pounds, and we're bigger than the average kid. But part of me wishes that I was like Elio, 140 pounds, 5'7", scrawny, small little guy, and people would pick fights with me just so I could try my jiu-jitsu. Like my ego wanted that, but on the other side of it, I was like, no, it's cool, just smooth walking, no problem.
Yeah, interesting. So, Rener, how old were you when you received your black belt, and did you know that was kind of coming up, or? And was it a big ceremony, or did your father or grandfather just walk up to you and hand it to you? How did that go about?
Yeah, no, it was that I competed in a kind of a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu national tournament that we had, and I won, and Hidon won, and I was 18 and he was 20? I was 19 and he was 20, going on 21, and he had come back from Brazil from that graduation trip. And we competed in this thing as brown belts. We were both brown belts. We both won different categories. And then he just gave it to us, But the black belt is the least kind of climactic belt out of the whole lineup, Blue belt was the most exciting by far. Purple belt, second most exciting. Brown belt was whatever. And then black belt was like, what took you guys so long, You you deserve it. Because by the time you get black belt, you've been choking black belts for a good year, 2 years, Like you're playing with them, and you're already, you're in that same category, especially, me, younger, coming up in the family and carrying them out with all these older black belts. I definitely got out my fair share of victories against them. And then finally, once it became, undeniably, regular, my success and my movements and my confidence in my jiu-jitsu, that's when my grandfather, awarded me my black belt.
Nice. So talking about competitions, let's change gears for a moment and talk about the recent Metamoris event. Metamoris 4, your brother Halleck's invention, and his baby. What did you think about the event? Did you have any favorite matches? Just tell me about that.
No, the production is great. Holly's doing a great job. Holly's very artistic. He's the most artistic Gracie. And he has very good visions for things like this, and he made a beautiful show. And the rules are great, man. People go in there and you get to watch pure jiu-jitsu, and people just go in there and, roll with each other. So I thought it was a great event, as always. They were very fortunate to get a good 3 or 4 submissions, which is, great for the show and great for the fans. So it was all good, man. No, I loved Keenan and Vinny's match. I thought there was a lot of movement there. Keenan's got a very dominant style and very attack-focused, so he's fun to watch. And Vinny's just amazing survivability and resilience. So I liked all the matches that I saw. I think that for me to choose favorite matches, in my opinion, it's almost like, it's almost like a little bit disrespectful in some regard, because I'm the kind of guy who watches a match of 2 people doing nothing, and I'm fascinated by the fact that, they're able to shut each other down like that. You see? So for me, there is no boring match, because I understand what's happening, and I understand how hard what they're doing actually is. Whereas a lot of newer jiu-jitsu students, lower belt students will watch a match and say, oh, they're not doing anything. And I'm like, no, you have no idea what he's having to do to prevent the other guy from doing what he wants to do. Like, that's what's crazy. And, shutting him down like that is a huge, huge, style, a huge accomplishment. And I have to give the respect where respect is due. So I like all the submissions, of course, but when submission doesn't happen, what does that mean? That means that the submission counters were as good, if not, or better than the submissions themselves. So instead of praising all the submissions, you need to praise all the submission counters. So that's how I look at it.
Right. Yeah, all those subtle nuances that to the untrained eye go unnoticed, but you're able to appreciate it on a much deeper level. And it does seem like the event's getting better and better every time. I'm very impressed with the production and the participants they're getting. Do you think it's going to continue to become more mainstream, Rener? And also, are there any matchups that you would like to see? And are you interested in competing in it?
Yeah, for the first question, will it get more mainstream? Naturally, as jiu-jitsu grows, so will the demand for Metamora. Because the only challenge with Metamora is you have to be educated to understand it. You see what I'm saying? Like, you have to be. It's, it's similar to like collegiate wrestling, or freestyle wrestling and even judo to some extent, but both of those are a little more flashy in the sense of takedown, 6 minutes, full explosion, and judo, throw, boom. Whereas jiu-jitsu in the Metamora style especially, it's really about a patience. It's really about looking for the opportunity. And even though we all love it, all the jiu-jitsu fanatics, I think it might be hard for that to become mainstream just because the general audience, unless they're educated, are not going to respect it, to the point where, you look at a UFC fight, right? And fight goes to the ground, 30 seconds later, they're booing.
Right.
So what does that tell you? The general public is not ready to see two people rolling on the ground in the most artistic, human chess match, beautiful way. They're just not ready for it. And, one day they might be, but until then, the UFC serves that purpose of educating the general public on martial arts and on jiu-jitsu. And that's why we do the Gracie breakdowns, is to translate jiu-jitsu in the UFC for the general audience. And every Gracie breakdown that gets a couple 100,000 views, guess what? That's, a couple thousand people that are more excited about learning jiu-jitsu, and that's all we're here to do, Regarding the potential matchups of the future, man, it's so tough to say. Sometimes you get a great matchup and you're like, oh, this is going to be amazing, and then you get a match and the guys are so good and they're so well matched that they shut each other down, and it doesn't make for the most spectacular match. And like I said, even though I respect everyone and even the most boring matches are to me interesting, I appreciate certain matches differently just because I know the audience appreciates it more, and if the audience appreciates it more, the general public, it's better for the production, it's better for the show, it's better for jiu-jitsu. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm not someone judging it on my scale. I'm judging it on the scale of the world. And in that sense, it's all about the matchup. And some matchups you think are going to be amazing, they suck. Some you think you're going to suck, but they're amazing. So I'm not one really to pick fights other than, get the best guys in there and let them do their thing. And, I just think above everything else, the great chance to give some of these unknown jiu-jitsu, lifers, super dedicated practitioners, a chance to go out there and be recognized in a more, glamorous, top-class production versus, some of these other tournaments that they don't get nearly the recognition they deserve. And, a lot of people have asked, whether I care to compete. If I ever were to compete again, doing it in a format like that would be cool. The challenge is that, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jiu-jitsu competitors, world-class competitors that are lining up to do this tournament with the Metamoris format. And I can jump in there and do that with them, but there aren't hundreds of people that can do what I can do. You know? And the truth is, in terms of making jiu-jitsu accessible and desirable by the everyday person around the world, who's actually doing that? For the lowest common denominator audience and then the average person to fall in love with jiu-jitsu, no one's taking that lead like me and he don't have. And that's why I'm like, man, okay, I can stop this and go 6 months just training for Metamoris to be myself and to do the best possible competition I could do. But then for 6 months, hundreds of thousands of people are going to get neglected for sure, because I don't do anything halfway. I do everything 100%. And right now I'm 100% expansion jiu-jitsu mode. And while, I like the 100% Metamoris production and glamorize jiu-jitsu that way and really give it the attention and respect it deserves, and that's all fine and dandy, but these people need to learn, and these people also out there who aren't even aware of jiu-jitsu need to be made aware of it. And all our marketing efforts, all of our TV, YouTube videos, all of our Gracie University lessons, everything I ever do is to get people to say, man, jiu-jitsu, all right, sounds like that could be fun. If Rener's freaking this ridiculous and energized, for jiu-jitsu, there must be something good about it. So let me go find a place to learn. And that's the hype that I'm on right now. And if I ever get off that hype, who knows? But in the meantime, I'm so full speed right now with the Gracie University curriculum and all the marketing for jiu-jitsu that we're doing that it's not a priority for me.
Right. And I, for one, am glad that's been your mission. You guys have certainly been the forerunners of spreading, the knowledge to the world, and you do it like on a level that no one else can do it for sure.
Yeah, this weekend, or probably in the next week or two, we're going to pass 100,000 members on Gracie University. Finally,
wow.
It's been 5 years. Yeah, it's been wild, and we have 100 certified training centers now, as you know, over 100 certified training centers around the world, 100,000 online members, and this is all because of Gracie University. The CTCs would not be possible without Gracie University. That's the bloodline for all of them. And man, just the amount of time, planning, strategic, editing, production, filming, planning again, filming again, editing again, that goes into creating and making that curriculum a reality. If I had any idea how hard Gracie University would have been 5 years ago, I would have never started it. I would have said, yeah, let's just have an academy, teach classes, teach seminars, be done and be done with this. That's my jiu-jitsu extent. I had no idea what I was getting involved with, how hard it would be to put all of jiu-jitsu online in a linear format for everyone to learn. And since I'm on that right now and I have so much left to go, any thought of doing anything other than continuing to do that is going to just prolong how long it takes for me to get the full white to black belt curriculum online. And I'm like, man, I don't want to wait any longer. Eventually I want to retire and have kids that I can just play with and just leave and not have to worry about, 300,000 students who need more curriculum, right? Because right now, if I take 2 months too long, people are like, yeah, when's the next chapter coming out? What are you doing? Come on, more Gracie University. And I'm like, yo, guys, calm down. I have a life too, man. I've got to go on my honeymoon. Let me go on my honeymoon for 10 days. Calm down. So it's crazy, man. It's worthy cause. It's all positive, but it's
absolutely hard. Plus the fact you're teaching all over the world with seminars and the growing desire for you to come to different places is, increasing all the time.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like right now, yeah, it's exactly. And like, people, they don't realize if me or Hidon is gone, if me or Hidon is traveling, teaching GST, teaching Gracie Super Seminars, like right now I'm in Virginia as we speak, and me and Brian T. City Ortega are here teaching a 1-week bully-proof seminar to 100 kids that were underprivileged kids here from Norfolk. This is sponsored by a university. They brought us in to teach these kids for a week. And you can't not do that. That's a good. If I'm going to spend a week doing anything other than Gracie University, I'm going to teach 100 kids who can't afford to pay for this training themselves and who need jiu-jitsu in their lives. That's where my time off goes to. Or teaching a seminar to 300-400 people in Canada. So I'm trying to spread this word. And you got to think, whenever we leave town, it stops. Gracie University is a partnered operation. So if me and Hidon is off the radar, it's dead in the water, and that just it just goes to show how selective we are about leaving Torrance. Because if it's not a worthy cause, man, we're not moving straight up. Because there's so many people waiting for the curriculum that we got to be on our game 100%. So we're very, very selective now about when we travel, when we do seminars. And when we take, months off, if ever, for any other mission that pull us away from the primary cause here.
Right. Well, you certainly have a lot on your plate. And to add to that, seems like more and more top-level MMA or UFC fighters are seeking you out and coming to the academy to try to gain your knowledge as far as that realm. So
yeah, it's so funny, right? Like, what's crazy is the Gracie breakdowns were originally designed to educate lowest common denominators, no experience, couch potato MMA fans who just watch and throw beer at the TV when someone goes to the ground. Like, that was what we were focusing on, educating so that they wouldn't boo as much or as quickly when the fight went to the ground, and hopefully take up jiu-jitsu one day if they ever want to get off the couch and make it happen. That's the design. Now, what is done beyond that is ridiculous. The amount of people who fall in love with jiu-jitsu and the amount of professional fighters who've contacted us to teach them jiu-jitsu now that they've seen the Gracie breakdowns is ridiculous. I asked Rhonda the other day, I said, how did you hear about us? She was like, Gracie breakdown. We broke down my Misha Tate fight. Misha Tate won, the first Misha Tate fight. And when you guys broke it down, I learned a few details that I didn't even know in the fight. And
wow,
I was like, man, that's dope. She's like, I did it, but I didn't understand it until you broke it down. And that's a very common thing, right, about professional fighters. And that's, a lot of times why they're fighters sometimes and not teachers is because they do it, but they don't really know how to make someone else do it like they do it. And that's a big difference, right? It's one thing to be able to do it. It's another thing to get the world to do it. So, some of these fighters see us break down their fights or any other fights and say, wow, this is some detailed stuff. When you talk to them, same thing with Lyoto. Lyoto's seen a couple videos, and then he literally just showed up to the academy one day, and Lyoto Machida, and just walked in, and someone comes to my office and Lyoto Machida is at the front desk right now asking about group classes. I'm like, what? And I walk out there, I'm like, what's up in Portuguese? I'm like, what's up, bro? What's happening? He's like, hey, Rener. I'm like, I want to come see and train about training here with you guys. This is right after the John Jones guillotine finished. He's looking to sharpen his jiu-jitsu a little more and maybe cut to the lower weight class. And I said, yeah, man, what's up? He said, you guys want to start training with you guys? I'm like, why didn't you call? Why didn't you let me know you were coming? Like, let's get you some one-on-one training, bro. This is like, I need to get you ready. He was like, oh, man, would you guys do that? I'm like, of course, bro. And now he's like one of my best friends. He lives in Southern California, right by our house, Redondo Beach. His kids train bully-proof. He's there. Nice. He came to the wedding. He's a super homie, 100%. And is training with us full-time, on season, off season. He's always there sharpening the sword. And, man, that guy is it's amazing how he's gotten the whole belt better. Like, he was a black belt when he came to us, jiu-jitsu-wise, but he's 100%. Like, it was probably like, he was a black belt because he trained sport, jiu-jitsu growing up, whatever, all his life, like since he was a teenager. But now he's like a legitimate black belt, really solid jiu-jitsu. And it's great because he's able to use it to shut down, submissions when guys go against him, and then he can resort back against karate and do what he does best.
Right on. That is awesome. And another UFC fighter, new in the UFC, is someone I know you're really happy about, and that's Brian T. City Ortega, who's kind of like your right hand on these seminars recently. And tell us about that relationship a little bit and what you think of his recent UFC debut.
Brian T. City, huh? T. City. Yeah, it was amazing debut, man. I was just so bummed that I couldn't be there. We had an instructor certification program that was scheduled 6 months before. Like how it is. We schedule those years in advance, right? So, T. City says, Rener, I'm going to fight in Brazil. So he sets it up to fight May 31st in Brazil. He sets a fight, and in Brazil. And I'm like, all right. So I get everything set up. I buy my plane ticket. I schedule a seminar down there so that we can take advantage of the fact that I'll be in Sao Paulo. We have a CTC in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and I'm going to teach a seminar. I never did before. I never taught a seminar in Brazil. I'm going to go do this. 1 week before the fight, Brian's like, Rener, he walks in my house today with his face down, like, Rener. Right when he said my name, I said the fight got canceled. I knew. The only other time he had that face was when his girlfriend got pregnant, He's like, Rener. And I was, he's like, Rener, baby's on its way. And then I was like, congratulations, bro. You get to be a dad. Now he's got 2 of them, bro. This guy's like giving me all these fathering tips. Great dad, great kid. Luckily, everything's panned out to be great. But, man, that kid was scared when he got that. But either way,
sure.
Now back to the fight, and it was all good. Canceled the fight. I'm like, now I have a ticket to Brazil and a seminar with a bunch of people signed up in Brazil. And here I am in New York City, no fight. So I'm like, man, now what? Dang. Go there. I almost canceled the seminars, but I went. It's an 11-hour flight. It's like, come on, man. It's a long way to go for no fight. So I go there, do the seminars anyways. Come down with my friends Carlos and Juliana in Brazil. Glad I went. Had the best acai, second best bowl of my life. The best one is in my kitchen. And good times. Hung out, did Brazilian paintball, good seminars, came back. A couple weeks later, Brian's like, yo, they found another fight for me. What's happening? I'm fighting in San Jose. When? July 26th. And right away, I knew something was wrong. That sounds conflicting. Looked at the schedule, ICP. Couldn't have been more. There's nothing more conflicting on the schedule. Like if I was going to have a baby one day, and it was like my baby's birthday, actual birthday, then I would probably miss the fight. But for no other reason would I miss this guy's fight other than ICP and the baby's birthday. So it just sucked that it lined it up that way. So I was, very frustrated. Me and Hidon both couldn't go because of that. We had like 70 instructors around from all over the world getting certified. So we're up there. Brian goes, does his thing. Of course, I'm talking to him right up to the locker room. I'm talking to him on the phone, before the fight. I'm like, it's all good. Let's do it. He's like, man, I'm nervous. I said, bro, go in there, do your thing, trust your jiu-jitsu, believe in your jiu-jitsu, and know that this guy can't beat you up. This guy can't choke you like I choke you. He's not going to do something you haven't felt before. Go in there, believe in the jiu-jitsu, make it happen. And then, all right, thank you, boom, boom. He goes, and then we're watching on TV like the rest of the world. Fox Live goes up, boom. And we had like 70 people in the lobby at the Academy. We had the TV playing. We're all watching it live.
Right.
And we were fired up, man. People were all excited. And he gets in there, and I'm like jittered, like I'm like nervous, like I'm there with him, you know, like every fight, you know, it's like, and I know how he's feeling because we've been there before. And he gets in there, he gets hit a couple times, clinches the guy, takes him down, puts the hooks in, locks the body triangle, and right then I was like, okay, this guy's going to get choked for sure. When Brian locks the body triangle on me, I get choked. So I'm like, all right, it's going down right now. And I was right, man. The guy freaking sunk the rear naked all the way in. Once the hand was behind the head, I started celebrating like I couldn't believe it. And like I always do. And that was it, man. T-City did his thing. So, man, it's
perfect
crazy.
Debut, man.
Perfect debut. Listen, if he wasn't in the backseat of the car right now, I wouldn't let you talk to him. But hold on, he wants to say hi real quick.
Okay, great.
Hello.
Brian T-City.
What up, Marty?
How are you, buddy?
Good, man. Good. You?
Great. Glad to talk to you. So I guess you heard we were just discussing your absolutely awesome debut in the UFC. So
yeah, I'm hearing you guys talk right now.
Nice. So how's it going?
Going good, man. We just finished doing some training with the police right now.
Right on. Bulletproof, police, you're covering it all this week, right?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Well, I got to say, Rener was just talking about how he had the jitters when you were going into the ring for the fight. I was nervous for you myself, so I can only imagine what he was feeling, or certainly can't even imagine what you were experiencing going in there. But it was just absolutely awesome, man. Awesome.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, it was a very interesting experience for sure, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see things are really falling in line for you, man. And as you described when I was interviewing you recently, the goals you have and the phases, and they seem to be right in line and moving forward. So awesome.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Thanks for checking in, brother.
No problem, brother.
Okay, this concludes part 1 of the interview. So I want to thank Rener as well as T-City for making a cameo appearance in this part. Stay tuned for episode 16 for the second part of the interview. Okay, time for the Make an Impact, Make a Difference segment. So I was editing this episode and had a subject I'd already done for Make an Impact, Making a Difference segment when it came out about T-City and the recent use of banned substances in his UFC debut. So I decided to change the subject of this segment for this show. First, I'm going to read what he wrote on his Facebook page. In preparation for my UFC debut, I used a banned substance called drostanolone. Probably butchered that. It was an irresponsible decision that I will regret for the rest of my life. I apologize to my family, friends, fans, the UFC, and everyone else who was affected by my selfish actions. It should be known that my coaches were totally unaware of my decisions, and I am ashamed that I let down the people who believed in me more than I believed in myself. Going forward, I'd rather lose a fair fight to any opponent than defeat myself the way I have done. T-City. So I'm sure many people were shocked to read the news of him using that banned substance. And I want to say the subject of this segment is going to be forgiveness. I personally feel like we all deserve a second chance. We all deserve forgiveness. And I'd like to share a quote. Forgiveness is not an occasional act. It is a constant attitude. And that's Martin Luther King Jr. So again, I'm not condoning the use of any banned substances or the fact that T-City did do that. I am saying that I am and forever will be a huge fan of T-City and hope that he bounces back for this. I hope that everyone listening remembers that we're all human and we all mess up. We all make mistakes. And again, not condoning what he did, but saying that everyone does deserve a second chance And I'd hate to see him be crucified for the rest of his life for one stupid mistake. I can only imagine the pressure going into the big leagues, going into the UFC to win. It's much like college or professional sports. Many people who never thought they would even consider using steroids or banned substances, when they were faced in those times, have ended up doing that. So again, not condoning it, but certainly trying to just understand that the pressure could make someone certainly do things that go against their values. Again, I'm a huge fan of T-Cities, will continue to be. I wish him the best of luck. I think it was a classy thing to do for him to post that on Facebook and come clean. Wish him nothing but the best. Hope he bounces back and comes back even stronger. And hang in there, T-City. Much love, brother. And that's going to do it for this episode of the show. As always, I welcome your thoughts, feedback, suggestions. Go ahead and like our Facebook page if you would, and also go to iTunes if you have a chance and rate the show as well. You can leave feedback on the website at www.graciejujitsurocks.com or by calling 919-251-5053. Thanks again for listening. This is Marty Josie, and until next time, I'll see you on the mat.